What is up, ladies and gentlemen? But most of all, you ladies out there, thanks for clicking on another episode of Break the Silence. I am your host, Cyborg. Light that beam, baby. Split cow! What a basketball game between the Sacramento Kings and the Minnesota Timberwolves. A game that went into overtime and the Sacramento Kings pulled out 118 to 111. This was really exciting because it's two of the best young teams in the Western Conference, two teams that are on the come up, two teams that have been pretty hot in the last 20 or so games. Teams that started the season slow and have really got going. The Sacramento Kings with this win are in sole possession of the 3 seed in the Western Conference. The Sacramento Kings are 28 and 21. The Minnesota Timberwolves fall to the 9 seed at 27 and 26. This game really summed up the Sacramento Kings season in a lot of ways, and we're really going to break it down because I've been watching a lot of Kings basketball lately to try to familiarize myself with the way they play, with some of the guys that are really contributing at a high level, and what makes the Kings such a good basketball team this year in comparison to some of the teams we've seen in the past that have been good, but not quite in that playoff range. Now, why are they firmly in the 3 seed? Before we get into the game, take a second to subscribe to the channel. You see we're almost at 1,000 subscribers. We're up over 900. So please take a second to hit that little subscribe button. That would be greatly appreciated. Let's focus on a couple of the performances tonight. So for the Kings, De'Aaron Fox had 32 points, 5 rebounds, and 4 assists. Domantas Sabonis had 17 points and 13 rebounds. Almost a perfect Domantas Sabonis stat line. It's the stat line he gets almost every night. He actually fouled out at the end of this one. And then Malik Monk had 19, and Trey Lyles gave you 11, including 8 of those in overtime, being 8 big points on Rudy Gobert that were really highly impressive. They're getting production from a lot of guys on this squad. Harrison Barnes, we know, is a good player. Didn't have the most points tonight, but we know he's a very good basketball player on both the offensive and defensive side of the court. The Sacramento Kings lead the NBA in offensive rating. Not only that, that is the second highest offensive rating of all time. So it's a team that is playing offense at such a high level because of their young studs in De'Aaron Fox, in Keegan Murray, guys who are playing at a high level, and some of their veterans, Harrison Barnes, Domantas Sabonis, who they traded for. And I was originally skeptical of the trade, getting rid of Tyrese Halliburton, bringing in Sabonis. And I think it's starting to prove that that was a good decision for the Sacramento Kings. And I'd be curious to hear a lot of you Kings fans' thoughts out there, but Tyrese Halliburton was a very valuable young player, but you got back an all-star, and now the Kings have 2 guys that I believe should be in the all-star game. In fact, I was out there advocating that Domantas Sabonis should have been a starter in the all-star game over Zion Williamson. But De'Aaron Fox should and hopefully will be an all-star, and Domantas Sabonis will be an all-star. Now, what makes them so special? This team plays basketball as one of the most exciting teams in basketball. It's one of those league pass teams that aren't always on TV. I know a lot of you are local that are Kings fans, but all around the U.S., you're not always on TV. But it's one of those teams you really want to tune in to watch on League Pass because games are exciting. They're fast-paced. This team was the 6th and 7th. This game featured the 6th and 7th fastest paces in the NBA. And we got to see these games, a lot of them come down to the very end of the game. And that's where De'Aaron Fox shines and shines brightest. He's second in the league in clutch scoring. And you can see it down the stretch when De'Aaron Fox just goes into pure takeover mode. And that's when he's at his best, and that's when the Sacramento Kings are at their best. Domantas Sabonis, I want to touch on real quickly because I actually live pretty close to Indianapolis, where he used to play for the Pacers. And one of the things, I used to go to a lot of Pacers games, still do, but I would go to a lot of Pacers games when he was there. And one of the things that I loved so much about him was when you would watch his pregame routine, the way that he would practice shots that you would see him then take in the game. He'd come off screen, shoot the little mid-range, and he just lived practicing those little mid-range shots that you see him take all game and he's so elite at. He practices exactly the way he plays. And I love that about him. And I think that's a missing art when you're talking about modern basketball. A lot of guys like to try trick shots. A lot of guys will come on the court, and not necessarily NBA players, but a lot of like kids, teenagers, high schoolers, college guys will come on the court and they'll like be hoisting up threes. Sabonis would practice the shots that he was going to take in the game. And I think that's what makes Sabonis so good and so skilled, is that he really, really focuses on what he wants to do and what he's going to do in the game, and he's trying to perfect that. Now, Sabonis fouled out of this game and actually got a technical at the end. He was getting pretty heated. It was pretty interesting to watch because Sabonis isn't a guy that often gets very heated. But tonight, for whatever reason, just kind of, got off his rhythm there. Now, they're also getting great production from Keegan Murray, their rookie, who's seems to be an excellent home run of a pick. In the summer league, we saw him play at a very high level, and he's just carried that into the season. He does so many things well. One of the guys that didn't even play very well tonight, Kevin Huerter, had only had 3 points, but Kevin Huerter was an absolute steal from the Atlanta Hawks. The Kings, and the thing that I always tell people when they talk about having small market teams or being frustrated that they're a fan of a small market team, good small market teams that are ran well are still able to accumulate talent and still able to compete at a high level. The Sacramento Kings drafted well, drafted De'Aaron Fox, drafted Keegan Murray, were able to use Tyrese Halliburton that they drafted to trade for Domantas Sabonis, was able to trade for Kevin Huerter. So it's a team that you can see the way that they've built it over the years, and they just keep building. And I think they're finally at the point where they're a very high-level basketball team in the Western Conference because they do so many things well. Now, one of the things we want to point out, in the overtime, Trey Lyles was cooking Rudy Gobert. He had 8 points, hit him with a 3 to start where Rudy Gobert dropped in. This is honestly the biggest flaw of having Rudy Gobert, especially in a playoff series when you can really scout and really prepare for Rudy Gobert. But Trey Lyles, dropped out to the corner. Rudy Gobert didn't close out in time, splash for a 3. Next play, Trey Lyles, almost the same play on the wing, gets the ball, pump fakes the 3. Rudy Gobert tries to close out hard. Trey Lyles drives by him and one dunk. Trey Lyles then hit one more dunk at the end of the game where he was unguarded, and that was pretty much all she wrote. So Trey Lyles played at a high level. They're getting high-level contribution, the Sacramento Kings are, from 7 to 8 guys, and that depth is so important. When you talk about De'Aaron Fox, Sabonis, Huerter, Barnes, Malik Monk, Keegan Murray, Trey Lyles, Terrence Davis, Davion Mitchell, who's a very good defender. They have so many quality basketball players on this Kings team, and I believe they're well coached by Mike Brown. Now, the one area that the Kings do need to improve on a little bit is the defensive end of the court. They're number 21 in defensive rating, and that's just something you'd like to see them tick up in if they're going to play at a high level in big playoff series. Because when you're talking about being the 3 seed, that's a team that can actually compete in the Western Conference. And the good thing for the Kings is that the Western Conference is not that experienced, and it's wide open. From the aspect, the Nuggets don't have finals experience. The Grizzlies don't have finals experience. The Mavericks don't have finals experience. A lot of these teams that are right there in the Western Conference, the Clippers don't. Pelicans don't. A lot of these teams that are competing in the West are young or beat up, or we just have question marks about them. So the Kings have a real shot to go into the playoffs. Win a playoff series would be a great step forward. And can you compete in the second round? That would be a huge step forward for the Sacramento Kings. I love what I'm seeing from them. I want to touch briefly on the Minnesota Timberwolves because they're a team that's been playing well as of late with Karl Anthony Towns out. And it's kind of behind Anthony Edwards and how special of a basketball player he is. Again, tonight, he had 30 points, and it's like a nightly occurrence at this point that Anthony Edwards is going to score 30 or more. But they turn the ball over at such a high clip. They had 18 turnovers, and I was listening to the Timberwolves broadcast, and the announcers were just so frustrated by all the turnovers that are coming out of Minnesota. But Anthony Edwards, 33 points, 5 assists, 8 rebounds, 2 blocks, 2 steals. He's all over the basketball court. He's an elite level shot maker from anywhere. And honestly, if you're a Timberwolves fan, you got to feel so great about that guy. Now, The Rudy Gobert trade, I still think was highly questionable, and we'll wait to see how him and Cat are able to play together. But if you wanted my gut reaction, I don't think it's going to be great. I don't think it's a great fit. And when you have an elite basketball player like Anthony Edwards that I think has potential to be a top 10 player in the NBA, I just don't know that you want to waste any years on this experiment you're trying with Cat and Rudy Gobert. So we'll see what happens there. D'Angelo Russell's also playing at a pretty high level, even though he wasn't great tonight. Yeah, and it'll be interesting to watch both of these teams going forward. Sacramento Kings are just winning a lot of basketball games. They get to light the beam again tonight. That's all we got for you. Don't forget to subscribe. Cyborg out.